Nigeria's economic reform drive won rare global plaudits on Tuesday, with the World Bank describing the country as an emerging reference point for steady and credible reform leadership, citing sustained policy consistency, tough fiscal choices, and growing investor confidence under the current administration. Also, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has vowed that he won't abandon ongoing economic reforms in Nigeria, declaring that his government remains committed to sustaining the structural changes and will not reverse course despite the initial pains of adjustment. Joining us on this show to discuss the latest World Bank endorsement of Nigeria as global reference for steady, credible reforms is Professor Akpaneko, an economist. He will also discuss the recent Global Financial Integrity Report, revealing that capital flight weakens Nigeria's economic growth and drains Nigeria of $77.7 billion over the past decade. Good morning, Prof, and thank you for joining us on The Morning Show.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Good morning.
Well, Prof, let's start with the World Bank. The president met with a delegation from the World Bank earlier in the week, and the World Bank was, as usual, characteristically, as expected, full of praise for President Tinubu's reform program. And then also, I think about the same day, the IMF was also praising the Nigerian government. Now, they do this all the time. And many Nigerians are saying, well, praise from World Bank and IMF is not enough. The reality on the ground in Nigeria will seem not to reflect the praise singing by World Bank and the IMF. Is there something we should know here, or something that World Bank and IMF know that we do not know here in Nigeria? So the whole issue is about the reform and President Tinubu's commitment to remain on the path of reform. And he says that's leadership. It's not about initial pains.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much. The World Bank, IMF, the Bretton Woods institution is not surprising because the current President Tinubu's reform package mirrors, as usual, the package or the elements of the World Bank, IMF type of reforms. It's not the first time we've done that. It is not surprising that they will endorse such a reform. And on record, we don't know of any developing country that has embarked on the IMF World Bank type of reform and have fast-tracked growth and development. The bank should know that the reform package will not transform the economy in a structural sense. We are almost 3 years into the reform. Even in the context of the rebased GDP and the CPI, the structure of the economy has not changed. It has not changed, even marginally. The World Bank should know, and they don't tell us, but they should know, that for the economy to change structurally, the manufacturing subsector, which is under industry, should contribute at least 40% to GDP. In our context, that sector contributes less than 12% to GDP since 1963. How can you say the reform is progressing? The World Bank itself, its official last year, maintained that the Tinubu's reform will begin to yield positive results after 15 years. That's a long period, and in the long run, we are all dead. So how can you say that the reform is on course when the bank itself said that 130 million Nigerians are in poverty? And in fact, this year, a consulting firm in Nigeria, through research, has shown that 10 million more Nigerians will enter the poverty space. So by this year, 140 million Nigerians will be in poverty. I would say the reform is working. For now, the reform is not showing any sign. And let me say that any reform that you have, economic reform, there will be winners and losers. In the type of the IMF World Bank reform, which mirrors the Tinubu's reform, there will be people we gain. Maybe 5% of the population will reap the benefits of the reform. As we can see now, the political class and other elites are gaining from the reforms, but majority of Nigerians are not benefiting from the reform. Even in the long run, they'll still not benefit from the reform, because these reforms are not meant to move millions out of poverty. The World Bank knows that an economy has to grow double-digit, sustained for at least 15 to 20 years to even have a dent on poverty reduction. And in this case, we are 3 years. Our growth trajectory for now, both by the World Bank and even Nigerian authorities, is about 4%. Right. That would take us anywhere. Even if we grow double digit, they know that growth is not development.
All right.
See? So and more importantly, we've been told that the macro data is showing good signs. From my own understanding, it is the micro, when you aggregate the micro, allowing for aggregation bias, that you have the macro. So we cannot say for now that we are turning the corner. Right. And I will argue that even at the end of it, the reform will not change the structure of the economy. What you are seeing is that the services sector is contributing 55% to GDP, and that sector is not linked to manufacturing. It's rudimentary. What you have is what we call centralization.
All right.
That's what is happening. So, so the reforms for now are not working. In my view.
Okay, in your view. Thank you so much for that. And a number of people share your view. However, looking forward, what must happen for, done by this administration for Nigerians to begin to at least see some economic reprieve? Because the first 2 years was meant to be the year of, childbirth, labor. And the last, from this year, we're supposed to begin to enjoy, this promised economic reform. What must the government do to bridge that gap from what they've done and what they must do?
Yeah, see, the government must be intentional. They must adopt what we call developmental state philosophy. For example, when the economy is at this stage, you have to put more money into the hands of households and their families. You have to be deliberate about it. You can't just depend on heavily on the market. The market is not sacrosanct. There must be intention. You must be intentional to pump money into quality education, quality health, infrastructure, and those who are not in the position to deliver those things should bear the consequences. So the World Bank and IMF approach at this stage will say the state should not be involved in the economy, which is wrong. The state should be involved in the economy, but should be involved in a quantitative sense to put money into education, into infrastructure, into health, into housing, into agriculture. And those who don't perform should bear the consequences. Then later on, the state can disinvest. To say that everything should be market-driven is a big problem. The Tinubu economics relies heavily on deregulation. You can deregulate, but that regulation has to be guided. So that's the problem that we are having. Heavy dependent on the market, and the market is not sacrosanct. For example, I'll give you a good example. The kerosene subsector was regulated, and the poor no longer buy kerosene. So you cannot say that this is the only way to reform the economy. Okay. Economics is a science of alternative. There are several ways of doing it. So my fear is that the way we are going, we continue to put more money into the hands of the elites, and they become richer and richer, while the poor becomes poorer and poorer.
And that's what exactly is happening, Prof. And that's why, as we speak today, Nigeria has what we call a casino economy. Too much emphasis on financialization, big storylines, but no real developments. Prof, is it...
In fact, you have hit the point. Yes, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Just go ahead.
I was saying that you have hit the point on the... You have hit it on the nail. The type of on the head. The type of system we've been building since after independence has been a casino economy. Yeah, that's what it is. It hasn't changed much. We've had reforms. Which reform is stronger or much more robust than the structural adjustment program reform? We was a major failure until Tinubu'S Tony Ani had to use a framework called guided the regulation to rescue the economy during the Abacha regime. You made the point. The system we've been building is a casino economy.
It's a casino economy.
And once you have to change that casino economy framework. If you don't change that, we will not make progress. We'll just keep having an elite group enjoying the benefits of the economy, while majority of the Nigerians
Prof,
continue to wallow
and that's why
poverty.
That's why I'm trying to talk about the question. I'm trying to ask about culture. It's not today that we have those reforms for production. We had the first industrialization plan. All those things hardly worked. When do you think we can bring about that culture where we can have a surge in manufacturing and value addition? Because it's as if we are not cultured to manufacture. We can't even manufacture with less than 5,000 megawatts, even around 5,000 megawatts. It's as if we don't have the culture of manufacturing. We are just so easy to go bring things. I mean, look at the likes of them at Adebowale now. They started making refrigerators in this country, but it folded up because import killed it. Cheap import alternative. So we are so adapt to import. We are so easy to bring things in.
Yes.
When are we going to build this culture?
You see, if you look at our economy, when we had the first, second development plans, and we were implementing those plans religiously, we made substantial progress. The way to do is to go back to our development plans. When we formulate them, we should implement them. And that's where there's a big problem. The Tinubu'S institution, the World Bank and IMF, advised us to abandon planning, and they introduced this thing called medium-term expenditure framework, which has been part of our problem. We should have the development plans, which we've been having, but not being implementable. Take it to the House of Assembly, make it a law, and follow it. All these countries we are admiring that have fast-tracked growth and development, they have development plans, which they are following. We don't have. We have on paper, but we don't follow the plans. That's the way to go. If you do that, you see that our businessmen, our manufacturers, will become more innovative and will produce goods and services, not all goods and services. You see, if you the demand, they've been complaining. So we need to return back to implementing our plans. We have plans, but we don't implement those plans.
Okay.
That's part of the problem. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for your time with us this morning. Always an insightful conversation with you on the economy.